So you could override these directly if you wanted to, but that's gonna kind of not work with the function so much. So we'll do the same things we were doing here. So we'll do 61 and 75 for all of those. File and save. So now that kind of sets that function up so that it's going to automatically name those with that function on begin play. So to make that actually work, we need to do some things with our UI. So we'll go into our UI here. There it is. And into our HUD. And we are going to, you know what, I actually did not do our own HUD class. Oh, that's not what I wanted there. Call this BC HUD, and then we can actually make sure that that is in our game mode, which is in our blueprints, game mode, BC HUD. And there we go. Okay. In the HUD, you can set up a number of different things, but that is what it is. So we're going to want to do event begin play. We're going to want to create. So we're just going to create widget. And this is going to construct. We're going to use the UI HUD. So on begin play, this is going to create that widget, right? It's going to set it up there. We also want to make sure that we add to viewport. That way we can see the HUD, right? The return value will plug into the target. The return value here is going to be nothing yet. We're not to that point. So that is going to allow the HUD to essentially just create that right away. So that works for that. We can close that down now. In fact, we can close these down for the time being as well. So now we have our overall HUD, and then we have the actual HUD asset. So what we'll do from there is let's go ahead and get our next widget created here. We're going to create user interface widget blueprint. We're going to call this player status. And this will be essentially our health bar and everything. So to do this, so as I mentioned, there's a canvas panel when you do these. We don't need the canvas panel on this widget because the widget that we're going to be doing, let me go ahead and do desired the screen size, because what we're going to be doing is actually, we'll delete that, just creating the widget as we see fit, and then we'll implement that into the HUD widget. So that's kind of its own thing. So to start off, we want a size box. And the size box is going to allow us to essentially override and set different sizes here. So we want this to be, I play around a little bit, we'll do 300 by 100 to begin with here. Make sure all my other settings are correct. Yeah. Okay. So now that's our box that we're going to be putting all of our bars, our status bars and stuff into, right? So we want to layer things vertically to start with, right? We're going to title the top bar as stamina. We're going to have that actual stamina bar. Then we're going to title the next bars for the primary, secondary, and endurance, and then have those actual bars. And then we're going to have another section for the actual values underneath there, which will be kind of a temporary thing, or something that through the options the player could turn on or off, I guess, is something they could do as well. So to accomplish that, we need to make a vertical box. So we'll drag a vertical box into our size box here, right? So anything we put into the vertical box is going to stack itself vertically. And then we're going to do, let's go ahead and do a text. And that text block is going to be named, we'll call it stamina. Sorry, no. Let's make sure that's what it actually is. Stamina text. And then the actual text itself will say stamina. I'm missing where that is. There it is. Stamina. For that, we are going to want it to be left aligned, bottom aligned, to open up the font here, make sure it's bold. We're going to do a size of 12, and I think that might be it. For now, we can adjust it if we need to. And then below that, we're going to have the actual stamina bar, so that's going to be a progress bar. Drag that to the vertical box, it stacks it just underneath that there. And this progress bar will be stamina bar. You don't really have to name these, but naming them, make sure that you know exactly what you're looking at over there. For the stamina bar, we're going to do a couple things with that. So we're going to do the filled, we're going to do a top vertical alignment. So we can set this to a percent just to see what we're looking at here. We'll set it around there just to know that we have that there. We are going to bind this to our stamina once we get to a point of doing that, but we don't currently have that going. I'm going to actually make this a little more blue. That looks good. These are all temporary assets, of course. We're going to obviously make sure that we do a bit more with them once we actually get to our own assets and stuff. So then, because we have 3 separate things to split up here, we're going to want to actually put those side by side. So we're going to want to do a horizontal box. We'll drag that into our vertical box. The box itself will be stacked underneath these, and anything you put in the horizontal box will then stack from left to right. So now if we want to do our text box again, drag that in there. We're going to actually do 3 of those, so let's go ahead and just drag those in now. Text. And you can see they stack up next to each other there. So the first one is going to say primary stat text, and it is going to actually say primary. Let's go ahead and do some adjustments here on it. So we want left align, bottom align, bold's fine, we'll go to 12 again. And then I think the rest of that's good. And then for this one, we're going to follow along. We're going to do secondary. I can spell. Secondary. Wow. I can spell, but I can't type. Secondary stat text. And same thing, left and bottom. And we're going to do secondary. And that's also going to be a 12. I might actually do a thing with this. I think I'm gonna, so with the secondary, I think I'm gonna go ahead and do a little vertical line and then a space. And that should separate those a bit. Looks like with primary, we'll want to put a space after it as well then. Yeah, there we go. That kind of pads those out a little bit. And then the final one, of course, is going to actually just be endurance text. Because that is always going to be endurance. And then we'll do the left and bottom and 12. I guess we'll go ahead and do the same thing here. So that and space, and make sure we have a space after the secondary. Okay, there we go. So now those line up essentially the way they're supposed to. So then we are going to do, let's do another size box and put that into our vertical box here. So underneath the horizontal box, we have another size box. And we're going to do let's do a height override, 25 points. So that's how big our progress bars are going to be in there. So then our progress bars are going to line up from left to right. So we're going to need another horizontal box. This is really captivating stuff going on here, I know. And then in that horizontal box, we're going to need our progress bars. So we're going to do 3. 1, 2, and 3. So the first one is, of course, going to be primary stat bar. Go ahead and name these real quick here. Second one is going to be secondary stat bar. And the last one is going to be endurance bar. Okay. And then with these, we want to set a couple things. So first we'll go ahead and give them all a random percentage to kind of give us an idea of what we're looking at. So we definitely want it to be left to right. We are going to do fill color on this one. Let's go ahead and make this red. So that's a pretty bright red there. In fact, that's too bright. Let's go ahead and knock down the darkness on it a bit. Cool, that works. And then we're going to do, oh, you know what we need to do, actually? We need to fill these, so we're gonna set these to fill, and fill. I feel like some of these should be longer than the others. We'll fix that in a moment, though. So for the secondary stat, we're gonna do, oh, you know what? I know what I can do with it. We're going to set a size for these. So this one will be 8. This one will be, let's say, 6. And then let's do a full 10 on the endurance. There we go. That kind of lines that up. Now for the text to line up on it, though. I think we're probably going to want to do the same sort of thing. This is 8. So 8. Secondary was 6. Okay, so with that, we're probably going to want to make some changes to them as well. Now I'm getting into the nitty gritty of some things here. What am I doing? Not the horizontal box. I need the primary. Go ahead and back off that. Necessarily help. If we make that a 7. No, how about a 7.8? Pretty good. 0.7. That's about perfect. So I think what we might do is we might knock these down to an 11. Let's see if that even makes this fit. Probably not. Yeah, not so much. I don't know. Actually, that's pretty close. Do the endurance at 11 as well. Also, we don't need the space after that. Yeah, that doesn't look very good at all. 10? Okay, 10 fits. So we're going with 10. Let's see, and this one, 10. I suppose we could put this on the right. No. Leave it there for now. Alright, so that's good enough, I think, for the time being for that. Anyways, back to what we were actually doing, though. I'm going to do the secondary status. We'll make it like an orangey color. Not as orangey as I was thinking it was going to be. Gold, a goldish color. Again, this is all temporary stuff here. And then endurance, we'll make that a green. That's pretty decent. So there's our actual color bars and whatnot. And then underneath that, so now we need to do another horizontal box. And this is really going to be our more important section for us, less so than where the bars are, because they're going to be at full, right? So we're not really going to have a way of seeing, if our system is working properly based on the progress bars themselves, but we will be able to see it with our text here. More text. So we'll do 1, 2, and we'll call this primary number. I know it sounds kind of silly, but we'll do the fill, and the 7.7 is what we went with, I think. We want the center align, and we're gonna default this to hashtag, and we'll make sure that we'll also do a 10 on that. And then this one we'll do a fill for, what was this, 6? Yeah, 6. We want the center align, hashtag, and 10. Last one, oh, we forgot to name this one as well. Secondary number. Guess we could call it value as well. Endurance. Wow. Not a stenographer, that's for sure. Fill 10 center hashtag and okay, cool. So those are now lined up with that there. I might do a little padding on this from the top. Do like a 2 or maybe even a 5. Kind of fills that out a little bit more, right? So that's going to make the actual widget. We'll compile this, we'll save. So from here, we can actually go into our UI HUD, right? So this is our screen that we're looking at. Character is going to be in the middle here. And then we're going to have HUD elements wherever we want them. So what we can do is now go to our user created, and you'll see player status is in there. We'll drag that into our canvas panel, and you can see it there. We want to anchor this. I think we might actually leave it in the top left. Let's go ahead and position this. We'll do 35, or well, let's do 36, 300, 100, because that's the size it was. I think that's pretty good. File, play, and now you can see we have the HUD up there in the top left. A little harder to see in that size of a screen, so let's actually go ahead and check it in the more full-size screen here. So yeah, there you go. So that way we'll actually be able to see the numbers that we've implemented in there and make sure that that's working properly. So to get back into that, then we'll save this. We'll go back to player status. So now we need to actually hook these bars up. So that's where the binding comes in. So we're going to start with the easiest one, which is going to be the endurance bar. Okay, so let's go over and let's make a binding there. So for the endurance bar, I'm going to get the endurance bar percent. And this is going to be based off of, so we need to get our variables actually in here. Tell you what, let's go to the main event graph and let's do on event construct. We're going to cast to human, what is it, BP human. This is going to treat basically the player character as the parent human that we did, and we're actually going to go ahead and we're going to set this as a variable, and we're going to call it player character. And the reason we're doing that is now we can reference the player character without having to make this code every single time that we want to do that. So for example, in our get endurance, we want to, we'll take our player character. Now we can get endurance from our player character, essentially without getting a reference to our actual blueprint here. We wouldn't have access to all the stuff that's in our blueprint. You know, we wouldn't have all of the variables and everything that's in our blueprint, so that allows us to access that, and that's the reason that we do that. So we want our endurance. We're also going to get max endurance, and we want to take those differences and divide them, right? Yes. We're going to do a division. Int divided by int. We actually don't want to do it that way. We want to do float divided by float, so that we get a percentage value, which is going to be a decimal value. And real easy then, we can actually just drag these into here, and it's going to convert them, as you can see when I hover over that, convert integer to float. And we'll just get these extra nodes here. We can drag out and do whatever. So that is actually going to get our endurance. And that's going to get our endurance progress and everything. So it's really as simple as that. And what I think I'll do is I'll copy these, because that is going to be basically the same thing we do on all of them. So let's go ahead and head back to the designer just to make it easy here. So secondary, we'll create binding. we'll paste this in here, and then we'll get our reference to our player character, and now we're going to secondary. We're going to get the secondary stat and get secondary max, and we'll just plug these in here, and that one's done. Back in our designer, now we go to our primary. We're going to bind that, create binding. We'll once again paste this in here and get a reference to our character so we can pull out primary stat and stat max. Oops, not set. Get primary stat max and plug those in there. File that, we'll save. Now, when we play, it should have gotten that, but I think the reason it's not, so the reason we're not seeing anything, of course, which we actually are seeing things. You notice those bars are full, and that is exactly what I was saying, is that we need to not just worry about the bars. We actually have to bind the text so we can actually see what the text readout is there. So we're going to bind that, and now we can do those are all right there for us, which is really cool. So we'll get that percent. This is the secondary, and here's the endurance. Now we can compile, save that, and now it should display those numbers. It's giving us ones for some reason. Quick bit of troubleshooting to make sure what I did properly here. Oh, because we don't want the percentage. That's not, because it's giving us 1, it's giving us the whole percent as the player character. We just need the primary stat current number as the player character. We need the secondary stat current number, not the max, and then the endurance, the same thing. So we'll just get endurance. And there we go. So we got our 75, our 61, and our 50, which, as you note, is because it's the player character that we are playing right now. So this is inheriting all that information that we set up on the BP_human character. But we are able to override all of those and get the proper numbers off of our character. I know that's probably pretty small for everybody to see, but it does say 75, 61, and 50 up there, which, as we note here, is exactly what we set our physical attributes to. So I'm going to go ahead and save everything. Oh, there are nothing. Oh, that was from last time. Okay. Thought there were errors. I was like, there shouldn't be. All right, so that is our UI for our health system set up there. Again, we're kind of running a little long in the video, a little less than last time, but at least we got that there. So that's essentially how we set that up, and now we won't really have to set anything up here until we get done with the stamina, because we're going to have to set up our stamina system. In fact, we could just very easily come in here and do our stamina as a variable, which I think we'll go ahead and do just to get that going. So I'm going to do stamina, which is actually going to be a float because we want it to be more of a percentage. It's a little easier to work with that way. And we'll add another one. We'll call it max stamina. We'll spell it correctly this time though. And that's also a float. We'll compile this, and then we can save this as, I think we had it at 1,000. Let me just verify that. No, that was too much. We had it at 250. And we'll set the stamina to 250 by default. These would be attributes, so we'll put these into attributes as well. And it's going to be derived off the endurance, so we'll have a system set up to actually give us where the stamina is coming from and everything. But now we can also plug in the stamina for a binding here. So we'll go ahead and create a binding. We will get our player character reference and get stamina. Get max stamina. We named that incorrectly. Let me go fix that real quick. And it should automatically update for everything else. It does. Okay. And now we can just do a regular float divided by float here to get that percentage. So that's not a problem. All right. So now that's also set up, and we won't even have to come back in here to mess with it anymore. And now you also have your stamina here that you can set. And if you look when we play, the stamina bar should now be full because it's reading that 100% that we have for that. Again, I know it's hard to see because it's small, but there you go. So that is our player status system that we're setting up for the time being. And all we've really determined now is what the higher stat is between the dexterity and the strength, and that was done in this function here. And again, I explained the health system itself and why we do it that way. So what we'll end up doing next time is actually creating the take damage system as well, which is going to be a specific function in its own right. But that will be for next time. I appreciate anybody again who's watching this. I recorded this right after the last one because I feel like we needed to get to this point before I really reached an ending point for me to stop recording these for the day. So I haven't had a chance to look at any of the comments or anything from the previous video. But if you do have any questions, suggestions, want me to make any specific content with Unreal, or have any ideas that you might have for my own game as far as the way I have things going, please let me know, and I will take a look at those and address those in the next video, which should hopefully not be too long from now. Alright, appreciate you guys. Have a good day.